Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good evening, sir. Today we have invite you to our interview. Good evening. My name is Alif Alimi. We are from UTeM and we have invite you to this interview. This interview is for our assignment for ethic and OSHE subject. Assalamualaikum. Good evening. My name is Alif Alimi.
My name is Ibni Ruzani bin Ahmad.
My name is Muhammad Haiqal bin Emil Zainuddin.
Yeah, Assalamualaikum and very good evening. My name is Ahmad Iqmal bin Mokhtar. I am 28 years old. Right now, currently, I am working in Product Engine Manufacturing and an engineer in production engineering.
So, as an engineer, can you explain the understanding of ethical principle that guide the engineer profession?
So basically, from what I understand and I'm not mistaken, so it is to ensure that engineer acts as with their integrity or responsibility and also the fairness in their work. So why we must follow this ethical people lah. So this to maintain our public trust and ensure that the safety, health and welfare of the public, and also so there are some ethical principle guides that I have known. So one of it is the public safety and welfare for all people, especially engineers or other professions. They must prioritize the safety, health and welfare for the public for all activities they have done in their working environment. So secondly is competence and lifelong learning. They must expect that we get tasks and they must undertake the task with ease and easy flow. So when they take the task, it shows that they are competent. So they must maintain and improve their technical competence through education or etc. So thirdly is honesty and integrity. So for all works that we have done, especially for engineers, we must honest and transparent in what we do. So make sure all your works are doing transparent. No call tipu lah in Malay, tipu and other thing. So you must avoid getting or get info that is incorrect or give others info that incorrect. So when you give others info is correct, then we give side effect after that. So conflict of interest, we must be as engineer must avoid conflicts of interest that could compromise their professional judgment or activity. I think that's all for the principle that I know.
In your opinion, Mr. Iqmal, how do you incorporate the principle outlined in the engineering code ethics into your daily work?
So I think for me, we must, as engineer, we must actively applying this ethical guideline to every aspect of the professional practice. As I mentioned before this, some of the professional acts. So first on the, we must prioritize the public safety and welfare, do the risk assessment and all kind of that. So I think most of you are study and involved in doing the high risk assessment. So I think it's a good activities or assessment that we must do to identify the potential the hazards and also things that are safe for public use. So secondly, act with the integrity and honesty. So if data is incorrect or we must not hide it. So we must report the data, communicate with our upper level, which is our bosses. So that avoid that any exaggeration. So thirdly, the transparency and accountability. So for the documentation, we must keep true and accurate data of the decision, process and action taken on the project. I think that's my opinion.
Have you participated in any specific training or workshop related to professional ethics in engineering?
For me, after about 4 years, mostly one of the things that I sure and mainly I do is doing the CPP training, which is competent person site supervisor, which is for our factory, product engine or product manufacturing. We have for CPP. CPP is the person which handle or supervise the site. So mentally, we have a training or course that we must attend every 6 months. So for us, as for me, I am an engineer in production engineering. So mostly I handle machines and also our vendor that attends and doing works for the machinery. So training is a helpful training so that we ensure that the safety of the peoples and also we know what is prohibited and what we can do. So I think it is one of professional ethics which is in terms of safety that we must do.
So can you share an experience where you had to navigate a conflict of interest situation and how do you handle it?
Conflict of interest. So basically, as engineer in production engineering, so sometimes I have to handle some of the powers. For us, we don't call it operator, so we call it as team members. So they are all okay, but some of them follow rules. So maybe as an example, that if they are late, so if they are late for our factory, late is one of the discipline matter. So if you late for a few times, you can get tickets. So enhance tickets is when you get tickets, you don't have any agreement and some of that. So how I handle them, I will give them first warning. So cannot cannot assume or ask why. I cannot assume why they are late because of lack of sleep or like that. So we must ask them first what happens, or they have an accident or bad things happen. So if they give the just wasted answer, so I will direct to my boss. So I will ask my boss what to do. So because in our factory, if anything's abnormal happen, we will do stop, call and wait. If you know this kinds of rule. So which is I will stop first and then call my supervisor or like that, and I wait for their response. What to do on the next step.
That's all from me, and that's all for us. Thank you.
Thank you very much for inviting me for this interview. I think I am proud of you as a will be new engineer. So good luck for your
No problem.
future.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Assalamualaikum and good evening. Firstly, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Yumni Ruzani bin Ahmad. I'm from University Technical Malaysia Melaka.
My name is Mama Haiqal, being me today.
My name is Salif Alimi bin Chori.
So we just want to take your time to ask something about the ethical professional about your career in your work. Firstly, I would like to ask your opinion. Can you provide an example where you had to balance client interest with ethical consideration?
Okay, so first thing first, my name is Edri. I'm a process engineer from EPMB, which is my factory provide S76 for Proton. Alright, so to answer your first question, you need to balance the interest with ethical consideration. First, conducting a detailed risk assessment to identify potential safety issue with client propose cost-saving measures. And the next one, proposing alternate cost-effective solution that do not compromise safety, such as optimizing the design to reduce material usage without lowering. Okay, then another question.
Okay, thank you. For the next question, the Edri, I would like
Okay.
to ask about, can you provide an example of project where you had to ensure compliance with both legal and ethical standards?
Okay, so for the first thing, we do a research and training, which is the engineering team will undergo the training on relevant building codes, such as the WI for instruction. Is where we do like a procedure for the operator to do the training, follow the safety standard and our engineering codes and environmental regulations.
So, as an engineer, if you observe college engaging in unethical behavior, how will you handle the situation?
Okay, how I'm going to handle the situation. Okay, the first thing we have to understand reporting procedures, which is in every company or engineering company there is a procedures such as learn the proper channel to reporting unethical behavior within the organization. This could include reporting to supervisor, HR department. Let's say for the short word is reporting to your boss.
Okay, so next question I would like to ask about how often do you refer the engineering code of ethics in your professional practice?
Okay, so
Question is how often do you refer to the engineering code of ethics in your professional practice?
okay, so how often I'm refer to my engineering code is when I start the work, I will there is a standard procedures which is like such as first thing is when we going to start the work, we will have a morning briefing for the every department. Then we also have a code such as after the morning briefing, then we have to follow the procedure which is the first process. Then we go through until the end of line.
So, as engineer, how do you communicate ethical standard and expectation to your team or college?
Okay, so how I'm going to communicate? First, I will follow ethical regulation, rules and regulation. Communicate with them. We have our, let's say, proper procedure, proper codes, and the way that we communicate with them. Okay, so the way how we communicate, the first thing, the first before we going to start the work, we have the morning briefing. We will brief about the output for the yesterday output. Then we will brief for the let's say there is some issues. For example, there is string cover issues. Then we will just communicate about them. Then we will say what doesn't, what does. Okay. Then the next thing we also have the open discussion for the communication, such as we encourage open discussion about ethics in team meetings to reinforce their important and address any concern. So the communication such as like the physical communication or something like the mechanism reporting, we establish confidential channels for reporting unethical behavior without fear or retaliation. So I think that's all the answer for me.
Thank you, Mr. Edri. As we can conclude in the interview, the engineering code of ethics refers to a basic set of principles that establish standard of conduct for engineers in their duties. So the code of ethics ensure the engineers preserve society in all their endeavors. As from me, I would like to thank you to Mr. Edri and for your time in this interview.